Hi, everyone. This is Friday Connect. We're here every single Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern. It's so good to have you all here. Today's going to be a special one. My name is Tharmila Rajasingam. This is Shireman. We're co-host of this training, this event. We do this every single week. It's for real estate agents around the world. We talk about everything, real estate marketing, lead generation, business planning, systems, process, name it. We talk about it here. If we're not running the training, we bring on special guests who are expert at that topic to run it for you. If you haven't been here before and you want to kind of keep in track of kind of the trainings that are coming up and be part of it, be part of the excitement, I highly recommend you click on the link that Jacob's going to put in the chat box, fridayconnect.net. Connect with us, register for future events. I highly recommend you join our Facebook group. This is where we post about our future events. We ask polls to ask what you are struggling with, how we can help you grow your business, all of that stuff. This is where we're really trying to build an online community. So I highly recommend you join us there. And us doing this event, a lot of people started to, because of the timing, of course, having it at Friday at 12 p.m., a lot of people wanting to see this recorded, they wanted to rewatch it. So we opened up a YouTube account and we started to record all of these trainings and we started putting on them because this became more of a workshop. And so I highly recommend you head to our YouTube channel, which you can find also in the resource section under fridayconnect.net, and subscribe and comment if you have any questions. There's a wealth of knowledge on there with tons of speakers that we brought on, just like today. And today is going to be a really special one because we have none other than Mike Sherrard joining us. This is huge because we're going to be talking about one of those topics that is never spoken about enough. And a lot of people are wondering why our group and eXp, this brokerage, exploding. And so we wanted to bring this to the forefront, have this conversation, and I want a lot of you to join in as well. We'll do a Q&A style with Jacob and I asking Mike some questions that are kind of percolating at the top. And then if there's anything that we've missed, we'd love to hear it in the chat box, and we'll love to kind of bring you on and get those questions to Mike so that he can answer them. But today we're going to be talking about eXp Realty and particularly about our group, Agent Wolfpack, and this amazing, fastest growing, exploding group. This group has grown into really a family for us. And honestly, these past years has been nothing short of just amazing. And I want to just all of you to hear from the man who kind of co-founded this group, Mike Sherrard. He's a global social media coach, and I really want to give him a space to kind of speak about himself and introduce himself as well. So, Mike, go ahead and just share kind of what brought you to this space.
Yeah, thank you so much. Really excited to be here. And it's been a life changing journey. Like most, I turned a blind eye to this opportunity for so long. And, I was recently, about an hour ago, on a conversation with a big team looking to join us. And, the conversation was, why did you join? And for me, it all came down to the vehicle. So my story was that I was top producing agent of my last brokerage, built momentum, tripling my production every year. And at the end of 2019, before anybody knew the pandemic was coming, I started evaluating, what's next. And the only thought that I had was going into 2020 was, I guess I have to do more deals, which requires more time. But my whole goal is I'm burnt out. I want time back. And so I started auditing. It's like the conversation of, if you want to cross the Atlantic Ocean, you can't do it in a kayak. You have to do it in a cruise ship, right? So are you even in a vehicle to get you to the destination that you would like to go? And the more I started thinking about it, the more I realized I wanted time freedom. I wanted wealth. I wanted, to be able to make a bigger impact on other people. Well, I couldn't create wealth because I had no multiple income streams. I had no equity ownership. I had no passive residual income. I couldn't create time freedom because I had one income stream that required my time invested in creating it. And I was limiting the impact I could make on other people because I was geographically restricted to one market center. So that's when I really started to open my eyes and say, okay, I've heard all of these things about this brokerage that I didn't really like, but maybe there's more to it. Let me open my mind and see if there's something that I was missing. And when I properly understood it, I ended up signing and joining the next day. And over the last 3.5 years, became the number one attractor globally of the company, and been able to change thousands of lives and impact my own and my family's as well.
Yeah, Mike, every time, I've seen you in person at our events, and every time you take that stage, I don't care if I've heard what you've said so many times being in our weekly calls or being around you, but you make that room go quiet, and every single person takes out their book and they start to make notes. And because you're a great example of someone who who've done it, who lived it, and now you're sharing with other people, and it's a great example, and which kind of leads me to my first question for you is, now that you've trained thousands of agents, and I mean thousands of agents, you've been on stage, one of the top stages, and in pretty much a lot of the states, and what are some common challenges you notice real estate agents are facing that you observe just from training and being around so many people?
Yeah, it's an incredible question, and it always comes down to mindset. I think
Mm.
one of the concepts that I'm very bullish about is that every agent knows what they need to do, right? There's three things that agents have to do in real estate, which is get clients, service clients, and nurture clients. Well, if you have no clients, there's only one thing you need to do, which is to get clients. Well, you know that the ways to get clients is to prospect, put out social media content, run paid ads, or network and explore your connections. Like that's basically all that there is. The question becomes, why are you not doing it? And so everybody knows what they need to do. But I oftentimes find that with real estate agents, they haven't made their goals big enough or more important to the point where they're willing to do whatever it takes to do it. They're always looking for the shiny penny. They're always looking for the next social platform that they could be an early adopter on. They're always looking for that shortcut to success. And when you look at anybody that's thrived, they just trust the process and understand that if I do the right things every single day forever, at some point it's guaranteed to work out. They're not putting a confined or restricted timeline on, I'm going to do this for 3 months. And if it doesn't work out, I'm going to the next thing. They're just saying, you've seen people that have succeeded and done 1 million GCI per year with door knocking, with cold calling, with Facebook ads, with Google ads, with YouTube, with
Yep.
TikTok. It's like, it doesn't matter, right? So pick your poison and become the best at it. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. And the other thing that they struggle with a lot, and this is one of the biggest things I find, is discipline. And discipline is following through with the commitments that you make to yourself. So many people will come into, January 1st is right around the corner. They're going to come into the new year. They're going to design their perfect calendar and their perfect schedule. And when they're prospecting, when they're creating content, and something a little bit more exciting than prospecting or content comes up, and they're the quickest to negotiate their schedule and go do something else. They're constantly negotiating with their commitments, and that's why they struggle. So they end up feeling like they get to the end of a 12-hour day exhausted, like, oh my God, I spent so much time on my business today, when really they were spinning their tires because they were doing busy activities, not productive activities. So I think if agents can trust the process, embrace delayed gratification, and follow through with the commitments that they make to themselves, you're inevitably going to succeed. But the only way that you're going to do that is by identifying a why that's more important to you than anything else, to the point where you're going to wake up every day and get after it.
Absolutely. And I find that a lot of time you're really in your own way. And I'm glad that you talked about mindset, is because this is why it's so important that you're surrounded by, you're an environment that's constantly challenging you, calling you out, confronting you. And it's a good example to show you that, yes, we face challenges and things are going to be hard. There's market, there's things that we can't control, but there's so many other people around us. And our group is a great example. Constantly when we come on, you're reminded, go back at it, go back at it. And I think, of course, we all have thoughts and challenges, and I'm really glad that you talked on that, because by coming to your group, being surrounded by the right people, being surrounded by EXP and their training, and a brokerage that holds you accountable, I think that is something that a lot of real estate agent in this market is lacking, and that's what I really want to kind of unpack today. I'll pass it on to Jacob to kind of take it on with
Yeah,
the next one.
thing I want to add to that is one thing that I like about what you do, and I started adopting this past summer, which has actually worked out. I don't know why it took so long for me to figure it out. But with so many things going on, you're like us. You have marketing going on, you have your real estate, you got your hands on so many things, and that's what we need to be doing. But what's funny is when you pull up your schedule, I always look at, I'm like, damn, like it's blocked off, and you don't let anything interfere with that. And I've done that same thing too, where I need to record this day, this time, and I'm like, oh, this client called. Instead of telling them, no, give me 2 hours, let me finish this, I go chase that business. So that's one thing that I really admire about you, is that you don't let anything mess with that time, because that is the commitment. And so when Tharmila's yelled at me forever, do more video, do more video. And I do it here and there. But once I started, like that 3 week, like you said, It's crazy. In like 4 months, 700 followers, now over 1,000. So that time commitment, I think if everybody could just adopt that and stick to it, we would not see as many people, struggling to actually do deals. So I want to compliment you on that.
And
But that's
Jacob, sorry to interrupt you, but I just want to jump in and say, you and I talk about this all the time. The amount of time I sit with the real estate agent, like the first meeting that I have with them, immediately by you know this too, Mike. Like their energy, you know what they're all about. They telling you their goal, and you're sitting there and be like, I know you're not going to do this. Or there's some people they're not even speaking much, and they're not sharing their goals with you, and I can immediately tell, wow, this person is powerful. This person has so much skill set. I don't think they see it. And then
right.
and then I start to unpack them and I tell them, hey, you should go do this, you should go do that. And they don't believe in themselves. And this is why it's so important that you have people in your side that is constantly challenging you and reminding you of the person that you are, because all these years we built up all these limiting beliefs of other people that don't care about you, telling you that you're not good enough, things, you might not look good in this camera, you might not say the right things, all these things. And then you built that up and then you bring it towards all aspects of your life, including your business. And people to this day, this, they're so good at what they do. And I immediately look at them, I'm like, you don't even know what you have inside of you. You're just not giving yourself a chance. And I just wanted to, because it reminded me when Jacob said that. And Jacob knows this. You have no idea the amount of times I would tell Jacob, you are so good at this, you are so good at this. But other things would take priority, right? So I love the part of discipline you touched on. But go ahead,
Yeah.
Jacob. Sorry about
Well,
that.
to bring that full circle, I just hope people understand that you will always make time for your priorities, right? And we all have the same 24 hours a day. It's not that we have more time than you. It's just we're allocating it to the things that are important enough to us. And if you're doing other things, you're just proving, because I see people all the time that say, Mike, I've got kids, I can't do what you do. Or Mike, I've got this, I can't do what you do. It's like, no, you're just negotiating your priorities with yourself and you made other things more important. And then I think, Jacob, what you're alluding to, which is so important, is that scarcity creates value. When people know my time is very scarce, which it is, and I make them known that it's scarce, they don't waste my time, which increases
Exactly.
your net worth because your time becomes more valuable. So when people are treating their time like $20 an hour work ethic, that's what you're going to make. But when you start treating yourself like every hour is worth $1,000, you're going to completely operate in a different position.
Oh yeah, I've even cut down my actual time on phones. Like when I do these calls with people, I've now these EXP explain calls. I come in like I'm done in 20 minutes, and they're okay.
Yeah.
What's the next step? And before I would spend hours, and then they wouldn't convert, and it's like no. And so because then one, they think you're not busy because obviously if you had tons of people booked in your calendar, but you also don't need to talk about all that stuff. You just find out what they need to know, move on, and so really focus on that time because we talk about this all the time. We had so much stuff, and it's like, man, I'm burnt out after 2 years. I'm like, when can I retire? But now I actually like what I'm doing. I love making the videos. I love, working on website stuff. I'm now segmented my time to what I enjoy doing and what I'm good at, outsource everything out, piece by piece, and let somebody else do the busy work for once. So I think it's super important. But this is a good segue into our next question. So you kind of touched on this a little bit, and I've heard Tharmila and I know your story, so I think it's really important too. What specifically attracted you to EXP and finally got you to kind of pull the trigger and come over here, besides just the broad of the vehicle aspect?
Yeah, definitely. I think, you'll get to a point where it, your income is what you need in order to have the lifestyle that you want. And then it's like, well, then what? People know that I love cars. It's like, okay, well, you get a Lamborghini and then what? You can get a better one. Like it's not fulfilling, right? And now I drive it every day. It's like driving a Corolla every day. Like it just becomes your new norm. So it's like, where does your fulfillment come from? And it was no longer fulfilling for me. And I think this is something that I don't share often, but is the biggest kind of perspective shift for me, is that when I started making good money, I started going on trips. And when I went on trips, I was staying at hotels that were $1,500 a night, $2,000 a night, staying there for a week, doing incredible things. And it was lonely because I realized that none of my best friends can afford to be here with me. Nobody. So
Right.
how exciting is that when you're going on all these cool places alone? Like, what's that? And so I started realizing, like, people say it's lonely at the top. It's lonely at the top if you don't bring anybody with you. That's the caveat that most people aren't thinking about, right? So for me, it got to the point where it's like, okay, I'm doing well, but I want my whole crew to do well. Like, I want everybody in my inner circle to be doing well, and everybody that's connected to me to be living their best life. And it might not be expensive cars or expensive trips or whatever. It might just be more quality time with your family. It might just be, you know, having more flexibility or getting in better, whatever it looks like to you. But I realized that at my current brokerage, the only way that I could create that level of impact was to become a team leader, deal with more stress, open my new brokerage, deal with more risk in life. Like, there was no avenue that said to me, this is the right path that will allow you to achieve your goals without taking on more BS. And because you could do it, you could do one-on-one coaching, but you're getting rid of time. So there was nothing that I could look at and say, this, yes, will get me there. There was multiple avenues that would get me there, but does that actually give me maintain my lifestyle that I want? And there was no avenue for that. And so when I started looking at this and having these real life experiences that really hit hard, I started realizing, like, this is a model that allows me to do what you want to do. And I think a concept that is really powerful that I live by, which is one of the biggest reasons why I came to eXp, is that your goal or vision needs to be so big that everybody else's dreams can fit within it. So if I achieve my goal at eXp and in business, my goals are so big that every person in our group would be able to achieve their goals as a byproduct of me achieving mine. Whereas at a traditional brokerage, if I achieve my goals and I'm worth $100 million, everybody else is still probably going to be broke because I'm not helping them in any way, shape, or form. This was an avenue to say, hey, as you kind of alluded to, Tharmila and Jacob, you know, rising tides lifts all ships. We all win together. And I'm also incentivized to help you win. So that's really what it came down to.
And I love that because too, like Tharmila and I have talked about this with a group. You can be successful at any brokerage, but the one thing about the brokerage models is you got to give up something. And a lot of case, if you want all of the money, you don't have time freedom. And if you have time freedom, you don't have the money to enjoy that time you're doing. And eXp really does allow for that with the multiple streams of income and the way the rev share model. And it's sad most people, you know, pick on us for that because they don't truly understand it. But eXp was so brilliant in the way they designed the tiers and which tiers you get the most money, because it not only do you focus on the people that are direct to you, if I focus on the 3rd level and the 7th level, I make the most money. And it's helping other people get what they want. That's that, you know, that common saying, you help enough people get what they want, you get what you want. And it really puts the focus back on helping people and bringing them with you. So that's a beautiful thing to allude to.
Well,
so
I will,
no, go ahead.
I'll give an example that I think will connect with a lot of people. And maybe Jacob, you and I will role play with this. You know, if I was to send a referral to you, how much would you give me?
25%.
Of course. And why did you give me that 25%?
Pretty standard.
But is it because I gave you the business and I helped
Oh,
your
of
business
course. Yeah.
grow?
Yeah.
Okay. So why is there a negative connotation with eXp and revenue share when all that you're doing is helping a company grow and they're giving you a thank you for doing it? The entire industry is predicated on 25, 30% referral fees because you just gave somebody something that helped their business grow and you're thanking them in return. At every other brokerage or most other brokerages, if you give them business, you help them grow, they give you goose egg. They give you absolutely nothing. And that money that you just brought to that brokerage goes to the broker that paid into the franchise system. You're doing the work. You're building the business. You got nothing. Your broker got it. So all that people need to understand is that you're operating this way in your own production business already. This is just transitioning that same concept to the brokerage business, right? You're already familiar with getting compensated in some way, shape, or form with a percentage when you help somebody else grow their business. Why would you not want to get compensated with a percentage when you help your brokerage build their business?
Exactly. And it's a reoccurring thank you. Like, it's reoccurring because you have to help that agent do business and keep growing their business in order to make something. We get this rap that, oh, we get paid as soon as we recruit somebody. It's like, no, I got to pour a lot of hours into these people and help them get what they want and help them, become a producing agent. So, I mean, the only thing in all these brokerage models, when we first got our license, because I've always been in business for myself for like last, 13 years. I told my husband, like, if we get this, we're becoming brokers. And this is before we found EXP, because we're not doing this self-employed crap. Like, we want a business. If we want to take a vacation, we still make money. But in Texas, it's 5 years and all these sales and all these hours. I'm like, we already did 180 hours and I got to go do another couple hundred. No. And then when we found EXP, I remember like 1 o'clock in the morning, I was like, wake up, you got to see this. And I was like, we can do this day one. And that was it. And literally the first month I had my first agent. Same thing with like Tharmila. It's just such a brilliant model, but people, they have this negative taste in their mouth about other experiences in life and they're adding it to this. When if you just look at a brokerage in period, the traditional way, everybody else makes money but the agents who actually are the ones bringing in the money. And we get screwed in the end, but EXP understands that. And their most brilliant thing that I love seeing every month getting a check is that their commitment is 50% of the revenue. So when you see that, hey, that one deal made you $400, but when you get your check, it's almost 500 because they weren't able to pay out 50%. So they divide it between everybody. They don't just pocket it. There's a buffer, and people don't understand that. They are truly committed to giving 50% of that 20% split back to their agents and rev share. And I think when the people understand that and click, it just is a game changer.
Jacob, the unfortunate part about this too is, Mike, you were kind of touching on, is that we hear, because we have a perception of one thing, right? It's usually with anything, ignorance is because you have lack of knowledge, right? And that's okay. That's why we're all here, right? To learn, to get better understanding of this model. But you hear someone else say, because they understood it a certain way, and they give you this one little blip of this is EXP such and such, or pyramid scheme, whatever it may be, because that's with their lack of knowledge. Now they completely ruined your chance of becoming anything, of ever achieving your goals financially, not just financially, but like having time freedom, anything, because you gave someone so much power and you believed in their words from their lack of perspective, and their narrowed perspective. And I think that's the most unfortunate part. And for every single one of you here, I highly recommend you're here listening to us three. I recommend you watch every single video that's out there about EXP and get a perspective on how EXP is changing people's lives. And you're just sitting there literally believing in a system that isn't working for you. And if you're really gun-ho about changing people's lives, I highly recommend this. Come to EXP and take this model, understand it your way, and go change all the people's lives that you were surrounded by at the other brokerage, because as well as we all do, that you can help them so much more, and they just don't understand that this structure that they're part of, that is actually made to make the very people at the top mighty, not you. And I think that's what I love that you mentioned that, Mike, is that so many people are just letting other people's opinion influence the things that they have working for them. And it's unfortunate, and sad.
And I think too, one of the challenges I always give to people to kind of make it lighter is statistically, you're going to switch brokerages anyways. So why not switch to EXP, give it 100%. And I guarantee you, if you do what you're supposed to here, you're not going to change again. And, people just are listening to people that aren't doing anything. And those are the ones that are negative. People that are doing something, they don't have time to talk about that stuff. So, but that kind of segues into this little negative, is that with our group growing so much, it's crazy to see that even, I just had a phone call with Connor last week and we were talking about this, how thousands of agents are leaving the industry this year. So what are your thoughts on that? What do you believe is the reason for that? Why we're seeing so many people jump ship?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I think, again, going back to the mindset conversation, people only give up and they quit when they forgot why they got started, right? So when you look at this, I don't know a single agent that got their real estate license, passed their final exam, and they're like, well, this sucks. I guess I'm going to just give it a shot, right? Like, people get their license and they're like, hell yeah, let's go. This is going to change my life, my family's life. Can't wait to crush hundreds of deals. Like, you come in with fire, right? Well, where did that fire go? You forgot why you got started, because when you got started, you had a why, you had a clarity, you had drive, ambition, right? And when things get tough, all of those kind of skeletons in your closet of your lack of work ethic, your lack of discipline, your instant gratification perspective, all of those start coming to the surface. It's like when the tide goes out, you see who gets caught with their pants down, right? And you know, when over the last couple of years, people have become accustomed to a market that's been a complete joke. Like anybody could sell a house over the last 2 years. You could put a freaking sign in the yard, and in 2 minutes, it's sold for 200K over asking. Like it's a joke. For me, getting started in a terrible market, it built up that resilience to say, hey, times are tough, but if I can get through this, I can crush it when things get good. A lot of people just got in at a time where it seemed like it was easy. And when the gravy train ended, they realized that, hey, this is actually quite a bit of work. It's a lot of sacrifice. It can be very lonely if you're not with the right group. And a lot of people don't have the mental grit and the fortitude to push through those difficult times. And I think a lot of that is due to the lack of proper training. A lot of people think that the training that agents need to build a business is the next tip, trick, tutorial, script, ad, whatever the situation is. And that's not the case. It's the training of how to get you to follow through with all of those commitments and do the things that need to do and stay self-accountable, right? And being in an environment that's conducive to growth, because it's very easy when you're alone and you're on an island to give up. Or people are switching because they think the grass is greener on the other side, not realizing the grass is greener where you water it. So I think a lot of this is coming down to agents realizing that they never really were passionate about it, or if they weren't in the right environment. There's a lot of people out of those 70,000 agents that quit that got in because they genuinely just wanted to do a couple deals with their friends, make 60K extra on top of their part-time job, and then dip when things get hard. And whatever makes them happy, then all the power to them. But there was a lot of other agents of that 70,000 plus that didn't need to quit. They could have made it. They could have thrived, but they were in the wrong environment. They had the wrong support structure. They were in the wrong kind of ecosystem and environment that didn't hold them to a higher standard and didn't help them instill belief in themselves. So I think, it's a shame when you see so many people leave. I think there's beauty in it as well, because for anybody that did weather the storm and does continue to weather the storm, you're now in a position to take massive market share, because where do the clients in those 70,000 go? They got to go somewhere. They're going to go to you, right? Because when you look at it, every time there's a market correction, even you go back to 08, 09, the market dipped by like 37, 38%. The agent count, when you look at the agents that physically left or did zero deals, meaning they mentally checked out, it was like a 65% reduction. Well, even because some people will say, okay, well, agents left, but the market went down. So those clients, they just weren't going to make a move anyway. But that's not the case, because there's always a massive discrepancy between the amount of agents that leave and the amount the market dips. There's a lot of clients that are still going to make a transition, that are going to go somewhere. And so I applaud those that are pushing through, understanding that if you can get through to the other side, you'll change your business in your life forever. Because if you can get through this, you're going to build so much momentum to the point that when things come back, you're going to blow up. It's just staying accountable to yourself for the next couple of years and building a robust foundation.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and go ahead. No, go.
No, I was just going to say, and that's why a brokerage like eXp is constantly growing, is because even when, again, external environment, things that we can't control, outside of our control, is affecting us. Agents, I love getting all these DMs from agents going like, well, can you help me with my KB core? I'm struggling with this. They're sharpening their knife. They're getting their, and we're providing them the tools and the skill set to thrive in this environment, rather than being at a brokerage where you're looking at all the other agents fail and you're like, oh, maybe I'm not cut out for this. And then you drop your license because you're surrounded by people and you're influenced by their failures. Where you come to a brokerage like ours, you look at people winning, they're making money constantly, even when they're not doing deals. There are people that are financially free. There are people that have multiple businesses. There are people that are inspirational. And then there's people like us who are doing training for other agents. And then it's a huge perspective change when you look at it from that perspective, is that when you see where you really have all the control. But I just wanted to jump in there and mention that. Go ahead, Jacob.
No, and you kind of were basically going to saying what I was saying, is that it comes back to having the right vehicle, where, we've seen this where our sales might be down, but our team is doing well. So there's that extra source of income. It all comes back to, are you self-employed? Are you the business, or do you have an actual business? And to me, majority real estate agents out there are just glorious self-employed people that think they have a business. And it's really sad because once they experience that sickness or something happens in their family and they have to dip out for a minute, forget the market, then they're back to square one. And so it's all about comes back to having the right vehicle that will help you through these shifting markets, and eXp does a great job with that, especially our group. We're always staying ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. And before I, wrap it up with our last questions and jumping into what people are asking and talking about here, I have a question for you, Mike. But why is our group like, you know, the growth that I'm looking at? I'm just not even looking at EXP as a brokerage, like Agent Wolfpack and our group, and the amount of agents that are joining every single month, while the industry is just like losing agents on thousands. Like, let's talk about that difference and why is that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think it's because we've created an environment that is instilled on hope, and we give agents hope. And you know, we poll our group every year, and the common feedback that I get from people when I ask how they feel after joining our group is that it reignited their passion for the industry. So there's a lot of people that feel burnt out, they're alone, they're on an island, they feel like giving up, and when they're surrounded by people that are so like-minded, it really does give them that boost of confidence again. And I think when you start looking at it, we're in kind of a perfect storm, which is that we're at a brokerage that a lot of people realize is kind of a safe haven for when things get tough, because EXP was birthed out of 0809. And then when you pair that with the fact that we constantly innovate and give agents the training, tool, support, community, culture, collaboration that they're looking for, and we all amplify that by sharing the message online, that's where a lot of the growth comes, is because if people don't know what they have, or if they don't know where the opportunities are, they might leave or go somewhere else. But the fact that we've got so many people that have followed a blueprint when it comes to things like video marketing, that are able to amplify their message, share their experience, and get it out there so that it becomes known what we stand for and known what we offer, now you start to give people a reason to book those calls, right? And a lot of people talk about what they do above and beyond other brokerages, other groups, or whatever, but we can show it. And I think that's a huge difference that we've really leaned into, is these experiences. So many incredible people like the two of you creating content at the event, showing what your group's about, showing how you interact. Like, we go that extra mile to show people tangibly what we're different in so many different ways. So I think we're going to continue to outpace the growth of the industry, the company, because of the fact that we're agent based and we're agent focused, and all that we do every single day is say, what can we do? What can we create in order to help agents get one step closer to their goals? And because we're always in this place of adoption and innovation, it gives people the excitement that they're a part of something special, and that there's going to be no stone unturned when it comes to what they're going to be able to get from this experience.
Absolutely. And I love the group and the culture, and but also the portals, the access that we've created. I love that, when you go into our portal, like school, you can see immediately all the events that are coming up, etc., and where people are asking questions. But I love referrals like that. If you go click on referrals, the amount of agents that are just giving away in just our group, just the thousands of agents that are in our group that are just giving referrals away. And I'm not even talking about EXP. If you go into all the state groups and all the referrals that are posted, I had an agent in one of my trainings that mentioned that 70% of her business that year came from all referrals and just going into different groups at EXP and just picking them up. And I completely believe it. Even one of our agents just recently closed on a deal, referral. And I think it's just so powerful. Even Jacob just recently was working on a deal that one of our agents tagged him in. So it's just thinking about the amount of relationship, and that's why it's so important going to these events, talking to people, letting people know, hey, I'm from Toronto, I can help you out, this is my name, here's who I am. And they immediately like, oh, I trust this agent, I like her, you know what, I'm going to keep her in my mind. And so that's what, to me, EXP is about. It's really about, that's why the first question everybody asks is, oh, do you guys have leads? I'm like, you have no idea. We don't have leads, we have clients ready to close. But to wrap up our questions for you, Mike, if you could offer one piece of advice to agents regarding our brokerage in particular, if you could touch on it, that can transform their business for 2024, what would you say?
Yeah, it's less of what I say. It's more of the and we talked about this week. It's more of the question, because I think it's more important when people can answer their own questions, because they're so used to people spewing statements and their biased opinion on them, which is why the attraction side has gotten a bad reputation, is get on a call with us and tell us what we're seeing wrong. Maybe we're wrong. Maybe we're seeing this wrong. Maybe I haven't been able to change my life or retire my parents. Maybe this is wrong, right? Like maybe the math doesn't work out. And we encourage you to poke holes in the model and tell us what we're seeing wrong, because maybe you're right. But I think if you look at this unbiasedly and you look at the math and you remove ego and emotion and stigmas and what you've heard in the past from the conversation, come in with an open mind and just say, hey, the worst thing that can happen with having that conversation is you now become familiar with the model you're about to compete against forever. So you win either which way by having the conversation. But also by having this conversation with an open mind, you might just realize that the math always makes sense. You might just realize that there were certain things that you missed that other people didn't properly explain. You might just realize not all groups are created equal, just like not all brokerages are created equal, right? So I encourage people, if you want to be a successful entrepreneur, every successful entrepreneur educates themselves properly on the competition in the marketplace to make an educated decision of what they need to do with their business going forward, right? So if you looked at like Elon Musk creating Tesla, do you think Elon just sat there and said, I'm going to create Tesla? Or do you think he looked at the landscape of every other motor company out there and said, hey, I'm going to look at what they're doing. I'm going to audit what they're doing with their EVs and their electric vehicles. But now that I know what the competition's doing, I'm going to go over here and do this, right? So every successful entrepreneur removes their ego and emotion from the conversation, has those honest discussions, and you can't make an educated decision as to whether or not something is for you or not for you until you're properly educated. The key word is properly educated. There's so many people out there that are making decisions based on misinformation and being uneducated. So if I was able to look at it through this lens and joined when I first heard about eXp in 2017, I heard about it in July of 2017, my life would be completely different right now.
Mm-hmm.
It makes me sick to my stomach how much I've left on the table, how many lives I've missed out on impacting because I turned a blind eye to it based on false assumptions, based on misinformation, and based on people having no idea what they're talking about, presenting the opportunity improperly. And that drastically changed the course of my life. So you have nothing to lose by exploring it. You have everything to lose by not exploring it.
Absolutely. And that's why I love that you said that, go out there, folks, and start to create an environment where you're, having conversations with people and you're asking questions. I had a gentleman that came into a call with me, and within 5 minutes, he said, I'm going to be honest with you. I spoke to 4 other EXP agents, and I've spoken to some brokerages in my local area. And then immediately I started asking questions. Literally, maybe within 5-10 minutes, he says, I'm exactly who I'm signing up under. And we left within 15 minutes. And I think it's really about people understanding it's not about us, it's about you. And is this brokerage, does it have the right information, the right resources to help you? And I think that's what I love about EXP. And you've seen me say this 1,000 times. You could do as little as you like, as much as you like. I came to this brokerage, guys, with a full-time job, a newborn, a toddler. Like, I didn't come here to be a top producer. I didn't know what I was doing. I was an investor, and I was going to hold my license, maybe do a deal. EXP is what I do every day. It's what I love. It's completely changed my life. I help other real estate agents. I left my full-time job because of it. I cannot speak highly of, allow yourself to, be in a space that's going to challenge you. And the first thing you need to do is just book a call and have a conversation about how we can do that. So there's some questions in the chat box. So I love to kind of unpack that and give you some opportunity, Mike, to kind of answer them. David, thank you so much for your questions. You were asking about the fact that Agent Wolfpack, we seem like a family tree, and it seemed to be that one branch has a certain value stack and another branch has a different value stack and sales proposition. And according to, he's looking at joining EXP, and he's saying, how should I look at, what should I look at when I'm joining within a certain branch, or minimize the risk of losing access to the value of other branch? Does that make sense? I do understand your question, David, but I'm going to give it to Mike, but then I'll also share some of my thoughts. But go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, definitely. So our group, based on being so family-like and intimately connected, we share everything. So even though there might be, even though Tharmila is known as the queen of KV Core and systems, and even though Jacob is a ninja at SEO and optimization, and they give a ridiculous amount of value to the people that partner with them, they also share some of that information on our weekly mastermind calls and our daily mastermind calls. So either which way, at the end of the day, when it comes to EXP, you're aligning with the person that you feel like is the best fit based on your personality and based on who you want to be in business with. Because this is a long-term partnership. It's like a relationship, right? You're getting into a relationship that is hopefully going to last forever with somebody, right? So you want to do that with somebody that you get excited to work with, that you feel like is a good fit culturally, and you get excited about what they're doing. Because at the end of the day, when people are joining you at EXP, or when you're joining somebody, you're going in with the mentality that I want to emulate what they have done. Well, find somebody that's done what you've done or what you're looking to do, and then follow the blueprint, right? So even though everybody has their own unique skill set and different offerings, we share, right? And I think that's what we do better than anybody else, is that we're constantly pouring into people and sharing our value proposition, to the point where, as long as you join the people, like Jacob and Tharmila, you're still going to get access to everything else. You're just going to get help with probably, the two most important things of your business on a more intimate level than you would with anybody else.
Exactly. We just have more allocated time, right? Everyone has their own systems of how they help. And that's why I meet with people to figure out, like Jacob and I, we run our own separate mastermind calls. We have a weekly check-in that we do, where you can do one-on-one questions with us. So even if you don't have time to book into our calendar and have a separate conversation, you can jump in and ask all these other agents who's not even in your downline or in your group directly. Ask them, their top producers, ask some questions. Hey, I'm struggling with this. How would you deal with it? And even in the Wolfpack Hub that Mike has created, myself and a lot of other real estate agents who've done great in their field of expertise, we've created slew of videos just to add to that, because we didn't care about holding that all to ourselves, because we care about the wolf pack. We care about our real, literally the family tree. And even EXP University, Jacob and I teach in that. Same thing with Mike. We teach in a lot of EXP training. And like Helma, for example, you're asking you about the fact that you're part of EXP. Yes, this call is open to everybody. It doesn't matter if you're part of EXP. It doesn't matter if you're part of another brokerage. It's open to everybody to come in, create this culture where you can ask questions. So absolutely. And Helma, there's tons of videos that Jacob and I have created also on our YouTube channel as well, personal. You can just put our name inside on YouTube, and you can find, or go to fightoconnect.net in the resource page. There's a ton of video on there about a couple of ways that we work with our agents and different tools that we're using, like CRMs, to recruit agents if you want to grow your team as well. And there's tons of things that we talk about on there, Helma. And if you need us to point you in the direction, send us a message in Workplace. And yeah, Mark Hammond, he's one of my agents. Yes, proper mindset is everything. And yes, Mark, I love you too. Joining the right sponsor is everything. It's really about the synergy, the energy, the people that you connect with. Immediately when I'm on a call with somebody, I know that they belong in my group. And there's some people, I look at them, I'm like, I don't know, I think you belong with somebody else. It's because of energy, people, and trust me, when my husband and Josh and I sat in a call with Mike, and I even got my license yet. I think I was begging Mike, give me early access. And Mike's like, no, you got to get your license. And then because I immediately knew exactly what my future held. And I think putting aside your emotions, your ego, and making a decision that's going to be good for your business is everything.
Well, one thing I want to add to that, because he did ask about, because he's looking at a group with investor. You have one Connor with his investor training, so you're going to get that no matter what. And even if you join mine or Tharmila and Josh, that's why they got into real estate, was real estate investing. So you're not losing that value stack at all. You're actually adding that in addition to all the real estate training. So don't worry about that. And then you asked a quick question about getting your license. Focus on getting your license. Know which brokerage you're choosing, your sponsor. Focus on that, and then come in with an open mind to learn and know what you want what your goals are, so that way whoever you choose as sponsor can best help you.
Yeah, David, you have a lot of questions, and honestly, like Jacob and I would love to sit down with you and make sure we answer them. And actually, we don't just answer these, like us talking right now is one thing. I love to open up my computer, share my screen, so you can actually visually see exactly what we've done. Josh and I have come into mastermind calls, my husband, and we talked about with our agents how to build their portfolio, build their own conversations with their investors and things like that. And we'd love to share those ideas. You have access to all those past mastermind calls and a whole course on real estate investing with Connor, like Jacob mentioned. So, but again, these are really good questions, but I'd love to just dive in a little bit more. Honestly, no obligation whatsoever. Just book a call with Jacob and I, and we'll love to answer all those questions for you. Absolutely.
I know who that is now. Awesome.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah. Anybody else have any other questions? Anything else that we missed that you wanted? We got Mike here. You can hear from the man himself who created this group. So if you have anything that you want answered, this is a great chance.
And if you're watching this on YouTube, just drop them down in the comments below if you weren't here live, and we will definitely get those answered for you.
Absolutely. And it doesn't look like there's anything else coming through. Thank you so much, folks, for joining in. This is, first of all, awesome for all of you to kind of take time off out of your day to kind of listen. And the people that come here every single week that are learning, this is for your business. You're doing this for you and your future and for your family. So this is awesome. And I want to take a couple of minutes to mention that, again, FridayConnect.net. Make sure you go to our website, connect with us. There's tons of different resources in there. If you missed it, this is your first time coming here, go and check out all of the other trainings we've done. I'm telling you, we talked about, expireds, FISBOs, cold calling, in real estate investing, CRMs, name it, we talked about it. So I highly recommend you check that out. And if there's something missing and you want to see it, send us a message. I would love to create a training for you. That's what this group is all about. This training is all about. And also, if you're watching this on YouTube, just like Jacob said, make sure you also hit that subscribe button so you get notifications on all the videos that come out every single week on this. And I'm going to take a moment to just say thank you, Mike. First of all, it is a pleasure to be in your group. You're an awesome leader. Just the things that you lead by example, and that's a pleasure to be part of your group. And honestly, if I can, when we started Friday Connect, we used to be on Zoom, and you used to do training. You would do Mike would come in, guys, and would do the first 20 minutes of a training on social media, YouTube, one of all the things that he's good at. And then we would do an eXp Explain. That's what the call was about, because that's what the person he is. And then every other week we would alternate with Connor Steinberg, who's his sponsor. And so to tell you that this is a person who kind of started all of this and helped us out to kind of grow to where we are it's nice to come in here now, Mike, and to look at us and be like, okay, I used to be part of this almost on a weekly basis and used to run this with us. So it is truly a pleasure. And this is what this is all about, folks. And I was just telling Jacob this, and even in my weekly check-in 2 weeks ago, I mentioned to all our agents, I want all of our agents in our group to take this on. This is meant to build their group, their team. I want them to be the one hosting this. I want them to challenge themselves to be trainers, because I know they're good at, oh man, some of our agents that are doing some crazy things, they're so good at what they do. I want them to start sharing that gold with other people. So this is kind of where we're at. We're really about growing, learning, and then passing that torch on to other people so that they can create that kind of influence in their circle. So again, going back to saying thank you to you, Mike. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Okay, see you, everybody. We'll see you next Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time, as usual.